Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is Yoel Kortick, Senior Librarian at Libris, and today we're going to be discussing customizing the pies and donuts in Alma data visualization. What we're showing here is also applicable to Esploro, to Leganto, to all products on the Libris higher education platform. What will we be covering today? We'll be looking at changing the default colors of the pies and donuts, changing the title, moving or removing the legend, changing the background color, changing what happens, the action when a slice of the pie or donut is selected, changing the default percent to an actual amount. When a pie or donut is created, the percent appears. We might want to change that to the actual amount, and changing the format of the total, which appears in middle of the donut. So here we are in data visualization. We access the data visualization here from within Alma. And let's start by creating a pie of expenditures in the funds expenditure subject area. And let's put in there, for example, the expenditures which were used for physical material and for electronic material. So let's drag in the electronic. Let's change this, at least temporarily, to a table. Let's also put in the physical. And perhaps we also want to limit that by the transaction date to be the current year. Let's do that with an expression filter. This is not yet related specifically to the pies, but first we need an example here. So we'll add an expression filter, and we'll say we want the year of the transaction date to be equal to the year of the current date. Let's validate that. Looks good. Apply. And now we can change this to a pie. So let's come here to the change visualization type, and let's choose a pie. So now we've got a pie, but we need to change this a little bit. It put, as you can see, one of the measures inside the values, one of the measures inside the colors. Let's move them both to the values. There we go. Now we've got a pie comparing the transaction expenditure amount of the electronic format with the transaction expenditure amount of the physical format. So the first thing is maybe we want to change the default colors. So the visualization is already selected. We'll come to color and we'll choose manage assignments. And we might not want these specific assignments here. We might want different colors. So we can click on one of these colors, choose a different color. Maybe I want here this green. First, I'm going to choose in this bar on the right. Then I'm going to choose within the big square on the left and say, OK. So that has changed to green. Maybe we want to change the orange one to something else as well. We'll click here on the orange one. Let's choose, for example, one of these bright reds on the bottom of the bar on the right, and then we'll choose something here, and OK. So now we've changed the colors. We might also want to change the title here. On top, by default, it put the names of the measures as the title. And we might want to have something else there. So again, we still have the visualization selected. And on the bottom left, you can see in the data panel is the panel all the way on the left. We have a section here with the visualization that's being used. We're here inside the General tab. And we have here title. Let's click Auto right next to the title. And Custom. And let's change it. Let's say comparison of physical and electronic expenditures for current year. And maybe we'll even make that first letter capital. Okay. Enter. There we go. We've got a new title. We could also play around with the fonts, the tooltips, etc. We'll save that for another time. Just a matter of clicking the auto next to the font and changing it there. Maybe also we want to move this legend. You can see we have a legend on the bottom. showing that this is the transaction for the electronic, this is the transaction for the physical. We might not want the legend to appear at all, because later we're going to see we can put a label inside the pie, or we might want to move it. Let's move it to the right for now. So we also have here in the data panel something called legend position on the bottom here, and it says auto. Auto, put it on the bottom. We'll change it. I clicked the auto, and let's choose right. Now we can see it moved to the right. We could put it elsewhere as well. Let's see legend position. I'll click right. Maybe we want it on the top. In any case, we can move it or we can remove it. We're removing it. Perhaps we'll remove it later when we add some labels into the pie. We can also give the pie a background color. So again, we have the pie selected. The visualization is selected. We're still in the General tab here on the lower section of the data panel. And let's go down now to background. So we'll scroll down a bit. We've got background. Again, it's auto, which made it white. We'll click that auto and we'll say custom. And now we have this fill color. We'll click that. And again, we can choose any color here. Maybe we want this yellow. This will be an interesting background. There we go. So we changed the background color now. Also, when we click on the pie, you can see different things happen. Here, when I click on it, it gets a little brighter. There's different actions that can happen when we do this. One is called the explode. Let's see what happens when we do that. So again, the visualization is selected. And we're still in the General tab here in the lower section of the data panel. And we have something here called selection effect. And right now it's on highlight. And we saw when we put our mouse on a certain section of the pie, it highlights. We can change this to explode. Now, if we do the explode, we put our mouse on, you can see it comes out a bit, explodes. They're separated a bit. Once we put our mouse on, put my mouse on, it explodes a little bit, slightly different effect. Now, when I click outside the pie, it all comes together. We can also change this default percent here. So again, the pie is selected. We might want, instead of the percent, we might want the actual value. We might want the actual value and the percent. Or we might want the actual value, the percent, and the label of what it is there in the pie. So let's say we want to change that. We'll come along here. Now we're switching in the data panel. Instead of being in the General tab where we have been, we're switching to the Values tab. So I'm clicking the Values tab, and now you can see in the data labels, by default, it gave us the percent. We can choose that here and say we want not the percent. Let's say we want the value. So now it's giving the actual amount. We could say we want the value and the percent. Now we have the actual amount and the percent. We could also put the value, the percent, and the label. So now it's saying what it is, how much, and what percent. So now we've got them all there. Now that we actually have the label as part of the pie, we no longer need the legend on the top. So let's get rid of the legend. We'll come back here to the General tab in the data panel, and we're going to take the legend position, which we moved here to top. I'm on legend position, clicking on top, and now we'll say none. So now we have the title, we have each part of it, and each part of it already has with it the label, the actual amount, and the percent. Let's save that if we've already come this far. We'll call this pie of P&E expenditures for current year. And we'll just make this spelled properly. Okay. Now let's take a look at an example with a donut. And for the donut, we'll use the fulfillment subject area. So let's now make a new workbook. We'll say create new workbook. And this time in the subject areas, we'll choose fulfillment. Let's say here we want the number of loans which are not in house. So these are Loans not in house. We'll drag that in. Let's temporarily put that in a table as well, because we're going to add another field here. Moving this to a table. And let's say we also want this for the law library, the science library, and the central library. So let's take the library name from the item location at time of loan. So we have here item location at time of loan, and we have library name. We'll move that up here, and we'll take the law, the science, and the central. And let's display that now as well. So now let's put this into a donut. We have the central library, law library, and science library. And we'll change this. We're going to click Change Visualization Type. Move to the donut. Last time we chose this pie. Now we're choosing the donut. And now we have a donut with the default values. And we can see now it's all the same color. It's showing the percentage for each of the libraries. And it's also showing the total in the middle, 853K, rounded out to the largest 1,000. 853K instead of giving the exact amount. So first of all, let's make this have different colors instead of all one color. So we can take the library name here in the grammar panel. This panel here is called the grammar panel. We'll move this to the color. And now let's change the colors here like we did last time. So we can come to the color here, click this down arrow, choose to manage assignments, and let's change it. We don't want this dark color, for example, for the central library. Let's click that. Let's choose a bright color. Let's take this pink and OK. That's changed. Let's change this lighter color in the science library. We'll click the color. We'll choose another one and OK. And we'll leave the law library as it is, and done. So we've changed the colors. First of all, we made them be colors by moving the library name from the category to the color. Then we managed the assignments, and we changed the colors. We can also take the title here and change it. Last time we changed the text of the title. We can change the title, the font of the title, or anything else. As you can see, here's the title. It's giving the name of the measure and the name of the field. And while the visualization is selected, I'm again in the bottom of the data panel. I'm in the General tab. And let's click Auto at the title font. Let's say we want this bold. Let's say we want this a much larger font. And there we go. Let's make that a little smaller. Okay, so now we have a bold, larger font, and we're all set on that. So we've changed the colors, we've changed the font. We still have the legend on the bottom here. Let's move that legend to the right. So we have legend position here. Visualization is selected. I'm still in the General tab here on the bottom of the data panel. We've got legend position. I'll choose Auto, move that to the right. And now we've moved the legend to the right. Background color. We can change the background color here like we did with the pie. So still the visualization is selected. In the General tab I am on the bottom of the data panel. And we've got here background. Let's choose Auto here. Custom. We'll click this fill color square. What color do we want to make this? Maybe this blue here, bluish greenish. There we go. So now we've got a background color there as well. Now here too, we can select what happens when part of the donut is selected. Now if I select it, you can see it gets highlighted. Last time we changed it to explode. So we can do that here as well. So everything is selected in here in the visualization. And in the data panel, I'm still here in the General tab, and we've got the selection effect. Defaulting to highlight. We'll change that also to explode. Now you can see we click on it, it explodes. It kind of separates from the rest of the donut. We click outside, and it comes back in. We can also here, like we did in the pie, change that default percent to be the actual amount. Instead of saying 16.36%, we can have it say the actual amount. So let's do that. We're still selecting the visualization. We're in the data panel. We're going to switch to the values tab now. Until now, we've been in the general tab, switching over to the values tab. And again, we've got here, show total on, data labels percent. Let's click that percent. Let's change that to the value. We could change it to only the value by removing the percent, or we can have both the percent and the value. Let's make it just the actual value. So we have the real amount there. We don't really need the percent sometimes when we're looking at donuts and pies, because we can see, for example, here that the vast majority is the central library. So we could put the percent, but we know it looks there like it's a little more than 75% just by looking at it. And you can see that my tooltip here, when I go on it, is giving me the actual percent in any case. We might want to change it. We might want to leave it the way it is. In any case, we'll leave it the way it is. Now, something we have here in the donut that we didn't have with the pie is the total amount in the middle. And you can see here that it says 853K. We may want to state here the total amount, the actual amount, instead of having it round out to the K. So let's do that. We've got the donut selected here. And I'm in the Values tab now. And here in the Values tab, we've got a section here called Show Total. Here's the Show Total. It's on, meaning it's showing this total in the middle. When I click that on, I've turned it off. When it is on, we have here also the total font in the total number format. Let's click this total number format. It's now at auto. We can choose number, currency, or percent. I've chosen number, and now opened up these three new ones: thousand separator, decimal places, and abbreviate. Again, if I change this to auto, I don't have those three fields. I'm going to click number again. Now I do have these three fields. We'll come to the abbreviate, which is on, meaning it's abbreviating it, to the 853K. We'll click that on. Now it's off, and it's giving us the actual number. Let's save this as well. We've come this far. We'll call this Donut of Loans for the Law, Science, and Central Libraries. Okay, and save that. And that concludes our session on customizing the pies and donuts in data visualization. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you in all of our future sessions. Have a nice day.